Imagine waking up tomorrow morning, stretching your arms, and suddenly discovering that humans have always had tails. And, okay, I want you to be really specific here. We are not talking about a thin little monkey stub, right? Imagine waking up with a real, fully functional, muscular appendage extending right from the base of your spine. It's got weight, it's got strength, and it is entirely yours to command. So what if humans had tails? Let's take a serious look at the biological, physical, and societal realities of this incredible anatomical hypothetical.
Right off the bat, absolute sensory chaos. I mean, you swing your legs out of bed and immediately, crash, your new tail knocks over the lamp on your nightstand. You stumble into the kitchen, pour yourself some coffee, go to sit down for breakfast, and realize that every single chair in your house suddenly has a massive, glaring design flaw. You can't just sit back anymore. You have an entirely new, highly sensitive body part that needs somewhere to go.
Then you head out the door for your commute to work or school, and you start noticing something incredibly strange. Everyone around you is moving, but, not just their arms and legs. Their tails are constantly in motion. You see people silently communicating without saying a single word. You've got tails wagging happily as friends say hi, some are twitching nervously on a crowded train, and others are casually wrapped around the legs of chairs in a coffee shop. It completely alters the landscape of human interaction.
Part 1. The evolutionary disappearance.
Okay, let's dive into this. While this scenario sounds a little out there, the scientific reality is that our ancient ancestors actually had tails. We're talking 25 million years ago. Back then, early primates navigating dense forests looked very different from modern humans, and most of them sported tails. For those species, a tail wasn't just some neat decoration. It was a highly functional, extra balancing tool. It provided incredible agility, acting as a built-in counterweight as they leaped between branches. And for some, it was literally used to grab onto the canopy high above the ground.
So what changed? Well, the ancestors of the great apes, which includes chimpanzees, gorillas, orangutans, and eventually us humans, began changing how they moved. Instead of running horizontally along tree branches like monkeys, they started climbing vertically and hanging below the branches. In this new upright posture, the tail essentially became useless. Over millions of years of this evolutionary shift, the tail gradually disappeared, leaving us today with only the vestigial tailbone, just a hidden little fossil tucked away at the base of your spine.
Part 2. The mechanics of balance.
Now, what's really fascinating here is understanding exactly what we lost. A muscular tail acts as a powerful counterweight attached directly to your spine. Just think about how sports would be completely revolutionized by having this extra movable weight. Gymnasts would stick impossibly difficult landings with ease. Skateboarders and surfers could stay upright way longer just by whipping their tails to counter shifting momentum. Basketball players balancing midair for a jump shot, soccer players making these incredibly sharp, sudden turns. Actually, scientists have done real-world experiments where humans wore robotic tails, and the results were absolutely wild. People became better at balancing almost instantly. It really shows just how effective a tail is for physical stability.
But let's take it a step further, right? What if our tails weren't just for balance? What if we had a prehensile tail? Some monkeys have tails specifically adapted to grasp and hold objects, literally strong enough to support their entire body weight. If human beings possessed a prehensile tail, it would function almost exactly like having a third arm.
The relatable, everyday upgrades to our lives would be dramatic. You could carry a heavy load of groceries with both hands while your tail effortlessly holds your phone up to your ear. Professional workflows would change overnight. Mechanics could hold a flashlight deep inside an engine bay without needing an extra set of hands. Surgeons could manipulate extra medical instruments during complex procedures. Construction workers could safely carry way more tools up a ladder. It would be an absolute game changer for human productivity.
Part 3. A new form of communication.
You see, a human tail wouldn't just be a physical tool, it would completely transform sociology. Just like dogs wagging happily or cats flicking their tails when they're annoyed, it would be an uncontrollable emotional beacon broadcasting our inner feelings to the whole world. Imagine walking into a high-pressure job interview. You look the interviewer dead in the eye and say, "I am completely calm and confident." But the reality, your tail is shaking nervously behind you, totally betraying your anxiety. Trying to hide excitement on a first date, mask embarrassment at a family dinner, or conceal anger from a boss would be nearly impossible.
Think about the sheer, honestly exhausting effort humans already put into managing our facial expressions just to remain polite or composed. Now add an entirely extra, highly expressive body part to that mental load. While society might ultimately become a lot more honest and transparent without the ability to hide our true feelings, the daily reality of navigating social interactions would become vastly more complicated.
Part 4. Adapting the modern world.
Let's look at how this builds into our everyday environments, because human industries would be forced into a massive, global adaptation to accommodate our new anatomy. Everything we interact with on a daily basis would need to change. For starters, fashion would face an absolute revolution. Every single pair of pants, shorts, and skirts would need a carefully tailored opening. Office chairs, car seats, airplane rows, they'd all need extra space and totally redesigned backrests. Tech companies would be scrambling to design tail-friendly keyboards or game controllers with extra inputs specifically for your tail. And knowing humans, we love turning body parts into fashion statements, we would undoubtedly see entirely new professions pop up. Luxury tail salons, designers crafting expensive tail jewelry, and personal trainers offering specialized tail fitness programs, the whole shebang.
Part 5. Genetics and the verdict.
So based on our current genetic blueprints, could humans ever naturally evolve tails again? Will we wake up millions of years from now with this built-in counterweight? Well, the crucial point is that evolution doesn't climb a ladder towards some specific, perfect goal. It simply responds to survival pressures in the environment. Because modern humans survive perfectly well and honestly thrive without tails, there is absolutely zero natural evolutionary pressure pushing our biology to grow them back.
But here is a wildly fascinating point regarding our biological data integrity. The blueprint for a tail isn't actually gone. Scientists have identified many of the specific genes involved in tail development. In fact, rare developmental variations sometimes result in human babies being born with small, tail-like structures. Now, while these aren't true functional animal tails, they absolutely prove that the genetic instructions are still buried deep within our biology. They haven't been deleted, they are literally just turned off.
Looking at the data objectively, we have to weigh the pros and the cons. The advantages are undeniably incredible: vastly superior balance, entirely new layers of communication, and potentially the utility of a literal third limb. But the drawbacks are very real. A large muscle requires significantly more calories and energy to maintain. We'd face entirely new types of injuries. I mean, just imagine slamming your tail in a car door. Ouch! Clothing would be a nightmare, and let's face it, bumping into furniture for the first few weeks of existence with a tail would be absolute, unmitigated chaos.
Yet it remains an incredibly fascinating aspect of the human story. For millions of years, tails were a perfectly normal part of everyday life, right up until our ancestors climbed out of the canopy and changed our trajectory forever. All that remains now is that tiny tailbone at the base of your spine. It is literally a small fossil hidden right inside your own body, undeniable proof that you are carrying the pieces of a very different 25-million-year-old past.
Which leaves us with the ultimate hypothetical question: would you want one? After weighing all the scientific research, the physical benefits, and the societal drawbacks, do you think having a fully functional tail would make your modern life easier or just a whole lot harder? Think about it. And if you enjoyed this explainer, make sure to follow and subscribe for more deep dives into strange questions, surprising science, and fascinating journeys through human evolution. Because as we've seen today, sometimes the weirdest questions reveal the most interesting answers.